Alright, so here are some predictions that I have for 4th edition, specifically with combat. So what I'm interested in doing in this video is not only sharing what I think, like the sum of the combat is going to look like in 4th, and I have a strong feeling that this is going to be true, and I'll explain why here in a minute. So I'm curious to know what you think, that if I'm correct or not, and if you think I'm wrong, where you think I'm wrong, and why you think I'm wrong. Because again, like I'm just taking some guesses here, right? But also, I'd be curious to know if I'm right, what your thoughts on that rule or that system or that way of playing would be. So do you think I'm right? And if I am right, what would you think? Yeah. That's the deal. Thanks to my Kill Boss patron Panda. Wybarian makes good art. He donated the cover art or the like icons and everything. Fantastic person. So check his Instagram out below and use code MDG for Baron of Dice. If you're going to buy dice, I mean, they got some pretty sick dice, like, not going to lie. They have some pretty sick dice. So if you're going to buy some dice, you might as well buy it from them. Might as well use my code, help support the channel. Oops. That's from my last video. What are we doing, Moss? Okay, so here we have a combat situation. We have Cruel Boys versus Iron Jaws. Here we have a unit of 6 pigs. This is a single unit of pigs. And we also have a reinforced unit of brutes over here on the side. And then in the middle, we have 2 units of gut rippers and a sludge raker beast. Okay. So here's some things that we already know about combat in 4th edition. One thing that we already know is that units have a 3-inch reach. So there's no more measuring individual ranges. They all have a 3-inch reach. And we also know that they've alluded to saying things like they want to speed up pile-ins and they want to generally kind of streamline combat specifically, specifically. So, so here's kind of like what I think, or what I predict. Actually, you know, in my previous video on 4th edition spoilers and rules, I kind of said that I think that they're going to, like one of the things that slows combat down is when you have to take a bunch of different profiles and like within a unit. Sorry, I'm not explaining this very well. When there are multiple different profiles within a unit, so brutes are a good example. You have the boss, you have the hackers, and the gore hackers. And so you have to throw a bunch of dice, and it gets even more complicated when you're trying to throw a bunch of different dice into different units. That can slow down the game significantly. And another thing that slows the game down significantly is piling in, when you have to end the move closer to different units. Yeah. So let's look at these pigs as an example. So as the rules written right now, these gore gruntas would not be able to fight this snatcher boss. They're out of range. Even after a pile-in, they will, let's just assume that they'll be out of 3 inches and they won't be able to fight. I know they might be within, 2 inches, right? Because that's the rule right now. So they would be out of range of this snatcher boss, and there's nothing that they can do. But when it comes to, so let's say that they are activating and fighting first. So one of the big problems that we have right now is that this model here, this gore grunta here in the center, is closer to this unit of gut rippers. And so they would not be able as a group to pile in 3 inches this way, because the gore grunta that's in the middle is going to end the turn further away from these red gut rippers. And same thing over here, right? Like we couldn't pile into the left for the exact same reason over here. And so what we're going to end up doing in this situation is, you know, we could maybe pile in our units a little bit like this way and that way and what have you. Like we could do some movements with them, but realistically we're stuck with these 3 gore grunters fighting this unit and these 3 gore gruntas fighting this unit. And that's going to make us have to have 4 different buckets of, or pools of dice that we're going to have to throw and resolve. So what I think that they're going to do is they have a universal 3-inch range, but every unit can only fight one other unit. I have a feeling, my prediction, is they're going to get rid of splitting different profiles between different enemy units. So what you'll say is, well, this unit of pigs fights this unit of gut rippers. And when it comes to pile-ins, that this unit of gore gruntas has to end their pile-in no further from this unit of gut rippers than they started. And then all of the models have to fight into this unit of gut rippers. So that means that even this model that's far away is still within 3 inches. So as long as all of these models end their pile-in no further than this unit of Gut Rippas, and then all of the attacks have to go into this unit of Gut Rippas, that's how the fight is resolved. So, and another reason that I think that that's going to be the case is because if you in my previous video where I discussed like what 3-inch fighting actually means, where it's like, well, some of these models are going to be able to fight into this Sludge Raker, but others are not. So in this exact scenario here, it looks to me like only two of these models are going to be able to fight into the Sludge Raker, and that creates really weird situations with screens. Well, if you say to your opponent, like, well, all of these pigs, your whole unit, can only fight one other unit. Well, that kind of gets rid of that problem, doesn't it? It creates a weird situation where your opponent's like, well, I can either have two of my models fight into the Sludge Raker, or I can have all of my models fight into the Gut Rippas. So as the attacking player, as the Iron Jaws player in this case, you have to pick one or the other. You can't do both. And so that means that screens still matter. If you can keep the bulk of your opponent's units out of that 3-inch range, it's not like they're going to get to pick and choose and put some into the screen and some into the monster or the hero behind. They have to make a choice. Am I only going to fight with 2 models, or am I going to fight with 6? And to me, that's still interesting and good. It also means that, like, you can pile out of combat, right? So let's look at these brutes, for example. So these brutes are stuck in combat with a Sludge Raker. They're stuck in combat with the Sludge Raker. But if they wanted to fight into this unit of Gut Rippas, well, they could pile out of combat. If my prediction is true, we can move 3 inches over this way, oops, and then these guys can move 3 inches over this way. And I know that my example isn't perfect, but you get my meaning here, right? But, you know, let's say that they can just get out of combat range with the Sludge Raker, then all of them fight into the Gut Rippas. Or again, if the opposite is true, if we wanted to fight into the Sludge Raker, we have to end our pile and move closer to the Sludge Raker, and then a lot of our models, but maybe not all of our models, are going to be able to fight with that 3-inch range into the Sludge Raker. That was the most massive sneeze ever. It's amazing. Oh! So, I don't know. That's what I think. I think it's going to be, just to recap, your unit has to only fight one other unit. You have to end your pile-in closer to that one unit and not to whatever unit is closer. And then you just have this universal 3-inch range. So it's like, brutes fight Sludge Raker. Cool. They pile in, and then they attack. Simple. Straightforward. Easy to see, easy to understand. It also means that you can pile out of combat with a unit, but if that unit made a charge move, they can be picked to fight even if they're outside of 3 inches. So let's say that you get within range, or like, let's say that these brutes are the ones that have charged. Okay. So let's say that these brutes are the ones that have charged, and they are, let's say that they're right here. They're 2.2 inches away. Cool. And then let's say, for example, there's a single brute over here that is from a different unit, and it is within range, fighting range of the Sludge Raker. And let's say that this Sludge Raker charged this turn. I know we're throwing a lot of conditions here. In fact, we could probably even just get rid of these guys, and we could probably even just get rid of these guys. So let's say that these brutes charged this turn. Cool. Sludge Raker activates. He's going to move 3 inches this way, and he's going to fight this guy. Cool. Kills him. Now, these brutes are well outside of 3 inches of the Sludge Raker, but because they charged in that turn, they get a 3-inch pile-in still. So even though the Sludge Raker is able to pile out of combat of these brutes, the brutes still get to pile in. And because it's a 3-inch range, it looks like, in this case, only a couple are going to get to fight. But you kind of get my point, that if you charge in with a unit, that people can't really pile out of combat with you because you get to chase them 3 inches. They can reduce the distance, like how many models can actually fight, right? And to me, this all seems fine. if this is how it is, to me, this seems good. It feels like it's going to speed up the game a little bit, and it's not going to be like super game breaking, assuming that they balance the war scrolls all properly. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that my prediction is going to be right? If not, why? What's your reasoning? I would love to be convinced, or to get some additional insights into what might be happening in fourth. And if this is the case, what do you think? Do you think this is taking too much skill out of the game? It's definitely gonna. I don't think that anybody can argue it's not going to speed the game up. If you're just piling into one unit and fighting one unit, and it's a 3-inch universal range, I feel like it's at minimum going to speed the game up. So tell me what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, wah.